Sure. So my name's Debbie Wolfenden, and have been, I guess you don't really care about where I live, but I've been a resident here of Ottawa since my teens. So I feel very much that Ottawa is very much my city. And I went to university here. So I went into university wanting to learn about business. And really the thing I was most interested in was marketing. I've always had, even as a student, I was in sales at a store or I was a waitress. So I've always been dealing with the public. So I wanted to go into business to learn, in essence, how to either run my own business, be a manager, etc. But I definitely wanted to go down the marketing route. Interestingly enough, like most people, what you go in to do, because you don't know, right? When you're in high school, you don't know. And so when I was in university and I was getting through my fourth year, because this is important, from a perspective of I wanted to do something related to, and in marketing it's very much about product, price, promotion, like the classic 4 Ps of marketing, and to go work for a company and helping them to determine that. And it was in, they were doing some on-campus recruiting. Some companies were doing some on-campus recruiting, but they were all either technology related, sales related, and so whether it was the technology or sales, even sales for insurance, investments, et cetera, because I came from the business side, they were looking for people with, potentially selling portfolio management, et cetera. I remember I was a little turned off going, sales, I don't want to be a salesperson. So I remember talking to my marketing professor, specifically saying, I'm stuck. I said, I'm seeing all these jobs being posted at the recruiting center, and they're all in technology. I don't like technology. So you gotta remember, this was a number of years ago where technology was not as pervasive as it is today. So she said, Deb, she goes, what's the first thing, she said, when it comes to being a good marketeer? So what do you mean? You need to understand your product. You need to understand your customer. You need to understand your competition, your pricing, how it's being marketed. So if you don't understand those, how could you be a good marketeer? Go be a salesperson and learn all those things. Learn what you need to do in terms of to be that good marketer. And she goes, you don't have to do that job forever. She said, but it gives you a foot in the door. She says, whether you choose insurance, portfolio management, or technology, go learn that and then develop those skills to be a good marketer. I went, okay. So off I go to the recruiting center, right? 'Cause I don't want to be a salesperson, but I'm thinking, okay. So that was my lesson number one, which was whatever your goal is, and even if you're not sure what your goal is, find the path to get there. And the path sometimes will make you do things that you think you're not going to like, or you think you're not sure, that you're just not sure. What the lesson I learned was go try it. So that was 30 years ago. Today, I've been in sales my whole career. I never left sales in one way, shape, or form. Whether it be a salesperson, whether I became a sales manager, I became a sales vice president, I became a coach, I became an advisor, always in sales, and ironically in technology. I didn't think I'd like technology, so there goes the lesson, right? Which is you have to be able to try things that because you don't know. Until you try it, you don't know, and it's okay to try it and not like it, and it's okay to go then do something else. So the lesson I learned on that was I went to my professor, who was a woman, and I said, high technology, it's a male-dominated field. Sales seems like a demeaning job. It is not. It's very rewarding on numerous levels. Be happy to talk about that. And C is learn from that, and then develop what you know about yourself. So my career path, I wanted to be a marketeer. I'm still in sales, but always been in high tech, and I love technology because it changes. So you're never bored, never bored. So that's kind of where I'm at today. So that's always a tricky question. The answer is, in my mind, absolutely not. It has changed and it has improved significantly over the years, without question. So from the time I went into business and went into sales, and in terms of I saw, especially depending on the industry, and depending, because the industries vary, right? So I went into a industry that was very male dominated in the late 80s. Also too, youth is works against you in some cases. In technology today, youth would actually be a benefit, right? Because the industry changed, but at the time, it was not necessarily a good thing. The other thing that tends to happen, and like it or not, when, and legally in Canada, and I think Canada is very good for this, we cannot state that we will not hire childbearing year women, right? It's not legal. But the reality is when you're a manager, especially private business, and you're looking at two candidates, and they might have equal skills, and you're going, uh-oh, childbearing, not childbearing, because I've been that business owner, and I'm a woman, even I did it. And I don't say I did it intentionally, but I'm going, okay, so if I'm going to invest in this individual, and I need this person to produce, which way am I going to go? And it's human nature, we're people, right? And that happens. Similarly in leadership positions. So do I think it's balanced? No. Do I think it's horribly imbalanced? No. I spent a lot of my own personal time learning how to figure that one out. So when especially in my 20s and early 30s, as I was working in teams, and I wouldn't get the same kind of collaboration from men as I would from women. I was trying to understand why. And similarly I had some good managers, some bad managers, and I was seeing how some women were being treated and some men were being treated, and I felt in some cases the men were being given preferential treatment. So I was trying to do the analysis and understanding myself as to why. My three, and I believe this to this day, the three reasons that sometimes women are not given the same opportunity, or perhaps not perceived to be of a similar caliber. And by the way, I think a lot of it's perception, by the way. Sometimes it's not reality. I'd say number one is mostly communication. And I'll come back to them in a minute. Mostly communication. Number two, understanding personality types and what motivates people. That is such a fundamental, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. Understanding a general personality type, what motivates that individual, and what can stress that individual. If you don't get that, you can totally miss either opportunities or your opportunity to present yourself correctly and communicate what it is that you're capable of doing or want. And then the third thing I'd have to say is the socialization with men versus women. So men and women communicate differently, we socialize differently, and as a general trait, back to the personality thing, we tend to go back to what we're comfortable with. And in order to advance, you have to get outside your comfort zone and go put yourself in an environment to be social with other people that are different from yourself. Communications, the personality styles, and then the socialization, making an effort to understand how your peers, male or female, how they think and what's important to them. So I think we all have, and sometimes you wonder, is it my gender? Is it my age? You know, I think early on in my career I felt disadvantaged because of my age. Being in high technology, being young, it's like you don't know anything. I mean, I realize today that sounds funny, but back then that was a big deal. So age was a problem. Definitely being female in some cases did not help. At the same time, there are times where I can at least point twice where it actually worked to my advantage. So I'll use the example because it's a male-dominated environment, the high-tech industry. I was selling to government, so now I'm dealing with a large governmental organization, and all my peers were male. My boss was male. Like, really, there was, the other women around me were very much in support roles, administration, contracts, and HR, classic stereotypes. So, the thing what I didn't like, or the scenario that I ran into, they assumed that I was in sales, that I was put into sales because I was female, I was young, and I could go flirt with all the men to get their attention for a sale. And guess what? In some cases, my peers, that's what they did. And so I was very discouraged, going, when I realized that maybe I was selected because I was a young female working in a male-dominated environment, that was why I was picked. Like, it hit me. I'm thinking, uh-oh. And some of my peers and competitors were flirting with their customers to get their attention to get a sale, and some went even further. And I'm thinking, really? Are you kidding me? Like, are we back? Like, no, I'm not going to work that way. So I was angry. But in the end, I got over it. I said, no, I'm not going to let that attitude change what it is I'm going to do. So that was the first time I realized that maybe it wasn't because of my skill that I got hired. Maybe, but I didn't know. So I went and addressed it. I went and spoke to my manager, because I said, I'm concerned. I said, I'm seeing the following behavior. Please tell me that's not what you expect. And he was mortified. He goes, no. And he goes, really? And I'm like, well, yeah. And I said, it's not the way I operate. And I said, and if that's part of the job, of course it wouldn't be part of the job requirement, but I just said, I don't know how to handle it. Like, where do I go with this? So that was the first, I'll call it, uh-oh, there's a problem here. So there were several things that I did to try and correct that. I made it very clear, I'm not playing that game. The good news is, I actually had and I even had in one scenario, this was the other thing that happened. Because I'm in sales, you're out meeting with clients. I was meeting with a purchaser in government, and him and I went and had lunch. And we're discussing some of the contracts and the project timelines, etc. Perception's reality. People started talking. Oh, those two alone together, well, maybe there's more to this. And I found this out through someone else who said, Deb, you're starting, there's a bit of a rumor that maybe, the purchaser likes you, or that maybe you're sleeping together. And I'm thinking, pardon me? So at least that person was nice enough to tell me. So I went and met with him. I said, look, I have a problem. There's a perception that you and I have something going. And he burst out laughing. He goes, I don't care what they think. I said, yeah, but I do. I said, you're older, I'm not. I said, I'm still learning. I need your help there. So we always made sure there was another person around, and he made a point of going through the effort of telling people I was like his kid sister, and that he was trying to help me be successful, and that he would appreciate the others treating me with some respect and helping me out. Wow, what a difference that made. But if I hadn't said something, he would have never have known, and I would have been struggling with how to figure that one out. If I hadn't gone to my manager and said, look, I'm concerned about how to deal with this, he said, nope. He says, you continue doing what you're doing. He says, we will help you. He said, manage some of the perceptions, etc. To the point that then another manager in the office, so this gets into the male domination, he saw how well I was doing. He came to me and he said, how would you like to come work for me on the defense team? It's a defense. Military, male-dominated, uniform. I know nothing about the military. High tech, and I'm a young woman. Could you give me any more reasons why I shouldn't do this? And he says, all those reasons, that's why you should, because you're going to stand out, you'll be different. And then I explained to him the scenario I ran into. I said, oh, there's a perception that women selling, in certain environments, they're just doing it because they want to flirt with the male customers to get their attention. I said, I'm not doing that. He goes, nope, I'll help you with that. He says, you have me. This guy was probably in his 60s, because I've been around these guys for years. I'll put you with his senior rep. You can learn from him, and we'll guide you through. So that was actually the one time I felt I had an advantage because I was female and young. I'm a big believer you can, there are three things that will come across in your career or in your life for that matter. There's opportunity, there is your state of readiness, so your readiness in terms of skills and experience and what you've done, and then sheer timing. And I'm a big believer that you can control two of the three. You can't control timing. You just can't. That timing is pure luck. But you can control the opportunities you come across. So back to that magazine article that said 31% of women feel they just didn't have the opportunity. I disagree. Make it happen. I'm a big believer you have control over that. I'm not saying you have complete control that you'll get the opportunity, but you have control of putting yourself in a position to either hear about, participate in, communicate, network, do whatever you need to do to make your intentions known, electronically, in person, however, so that you are aware of opportunities to go for it. If you're in the right state of readiness and the opportunities are like there, but you have to make it happen. It's not just going to come to you. Sometimes it does out of luck or a friend or whatever, but generally speaking, you need to make those opportunities happen. So one of the things that you ask about, do you think women face barriers to access to management and leadership positions? In terms of the opportunities themselves, no, you need to make that happen. You need to communicate what you want. Someone told me that in my 20s and I didn't get it, and I didn't do it either. They said, make your intentions clear to your manager. What do you want? What do you want? Now, you may not get it 1 year, 2 years. It may take you 5 years, whatever it is that you want. Tell them, I want to do this. What do I need to do to get there? And I remember people telling me that, I can't ask that. I don't know why people are so afraid. It's the first thing I say, what do you want? What do you want? And sometimes we don't know what we want. Okay, if you don't know what you want, what do you like to do? And then what do you like to do, and then how do you want to get to that path where you do that every day and your job's no longer a job, it's what you like to do, and you just get paid for it. And in the end, I was lucky. I ended up, this professor who directed me to go to sales, I love it. And I enjoy what I do. It doesn't feel like work to me. And I get well paid for it, and I have a lot of freedom. So for me, if you know what you want, ask your manager, or ask even a peer, someone in your organization that you go, I want to be that person in however many years. How did you get there? What would you recommend I do? Most people don't ask other people about their success and how they got there and some of the lessons learned. You would be amazed. Most people, if you ask them, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you that, blah, 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 and then they'll sit down with you and give you that information. So I find, so if you have to ask for that, so most women don't make it clear what they want, and see if this resonates. Most women think, if I work hard and I do a good job, I will get noticed. Not true. It's not, unfortunately, it's not true. It's so sad. I had that attitude. I'm going to work, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to get noticed. Nope. And meanwhile, the guys, if you want to do the male-female thing, the guys, they go out for the beers. Hey, buddy, play basketball. Let's go golf. They tell them all the great things they did, and they're the ones getting noticed. It's like, well, wait a minute. So it's back to communication. So back to opportunity. You need to make it clear what you want, find a path to get there, and then leverage your network on how to get there. So the best thing you can do is you find either a supportive manager. If you don't have one, doesn't matter. Go find a peer of that manager that will help you. And when I say help you, guide you, give you advice, help break down barriers, find some peers of your own who are happy to promote you, to talk about you in meetings. Back to the barriers for women. Communication. They assume. And I've seen this with my friends, and I still see it with some of my friends. I said, have you told your boss that's what you want to do? Have you told your coworkers that you're running into this wall? No. Shame on you. But back to the communication piece. It could be confidence. It could be they don't know, or they don't know the steps to get there. They need to find that buddy system. Men do a much better job of building a buddy system.